Okay, welcome back to Drawing with the Cartoon Dude. Today we're going to go ahead and take on a wizard. Wizards are always fun to draw. So we're going to start off with some basics that you really have to have when you draw. We'll call them the bones. In our case, we're going to get an idea of where we want certain features to be. And we're going to go ahead and draw a rough shape of kind of how the body's going to go. This line represents the shoulder, and this is one of our arms. From here, we're going to be creating a sense of a long staff. This just gives us a rough idea where things are going to be. And this hand actually is set up so that we can create a little bit of extra magic over here. Okay, so once you've got the basics here, we go back in and we're going to start working with the face. For wizards, the best way to start a wizard is with a long, cool, crooked-looking nose. And you can see by doing this, it actually helps you to start creating a look of the face and how your wizard's going to go. This line up at the top, you'll notice right here, is the beginning of one of our eyes, and then on the other side we're going to go ahead and stroke in our other eye. Now from this point we're going to go back and we're going to add really big bushy eyebrows. Big bushy eyebrows make him look kind of wizened, kind of rough and grizzled. At this stage we're going to go in and create our first cheek. Kind of get a rough idea where the other cheek's going to be here. And our next step is to go and hit the mustache. Now the coolest thing about wizards is that they always have really long, kind of gnarly looking mustaches. Case in point, look at Dumbledore, look at Gandalf, who of course is the quintessential wizard. And he had this really long beard, kind of stroked out and way down here. And we're going to do the same type of thing. Now, for our purposes, so I don't confuse you, I'm going to go ahead and go back in and I'm going to erase out some of these lines that might make it a little bit difficult for you to see where we're going with our drawing. Because once we've got these basics in here, we don't really have to have these extra lines in here. And you can see our wizard already has got an interesting feel and approach. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a beard. And for our wizard, we're going to go ahead and bring his beard together down here at the bottom, and we'll put a little tie on it. And we're going to add some lines that stroke up and down. You'll notice that the lines are left to kind of create the impression and the feel of how we want our wizard to look. We haven't added any shading yet. We're not going to do that until we get to the very end. Our next step is to go ahead and put the hood on. Now our wizard's got a hood or cloak that he's been wearing for many, many years, so it's going to look a little bit worn. So we're not going to make the angle of the shape too perfect. You can go kind of any angle that works for you, but the idea is that you want to create a lot of extra folds in here. And in our case, we're going to go ahead and give him some really interesting looking lines that kind of cut in and out. Now you'll notice on occasion when I'm putting down the line, I do a really fast kind of a quick lift at the end. And what this does is it actually creates a thin point on the end of the line, and it starts to create what we'll talk about later on, a thing called variation in line. Now we're moving over to his other arm at this point, and you can see we've got a really interesting feel going here. Now we're going to add his first hand, and I like to give him really long fingernails. And in this case we're going to actually extend his finger even further at this point. These fingers here kind of play off. And then we have one that comes up underneath. And then part of his forearm, we're going to go here. And you can see that he really has he's got a nice feel. Looks like he's coming together nicely. Our next step is to go over here and work on the other hand. Now remember, these hands have to be similar shape. So right now our hand is a little bit small for what we want, so we're going to make him even bigger. Sometimes if you make the hands larger and then a lot of the other features skinnier, it'll give the impression of him being really old, because certain features start to get bigger, like your nose and your hands and arms and things like that. And we'll go over here and work the rest of the arm. As you can see, again, I'm still controlling kind of where I'm putting my lines and strokes, creating a lot of folds in here, and I'm not really too concerned about how perfect they are, because I want it to look interesting and I want it to look kind of spontaneous. As you can see here, a few lines down this way, and we got pretty much the basics of our wizard up and ready to go. The next step is to work on the staff. Now our staff is going to look kind of like a dragon. We're going to start with an eyeball, or maybe even, it almost looks bird-like. We'll put some spikes on the back, and then we're going to gnarly up the wood on this. By doing this and curving it back and forth, it looks like something that was carved out of some sort of amazing magic wood. Run some lines down here. Add a few extras here. And you can see it's really got an interesting feel. Now our wizard, as you can see over here, there's a lot of these areas that we're going to want to do some shading on. We're going to do the eyes last. I like to always do the eyes at the end. It's kind of the exclamation point of the drawing. Now at this point we're going to do the magic, and as you can see, I'm just kind of letting my pencil jump all over the place to create a sense and feel of the magic itself. And you can see that the power that's emanating from his hand is very active, and what we call these are kind of energetic lines. Energetic lines tend to bring things alive and make them feel like they're moving. Okay, a few lines here and there. Again, it's starting to really feel an interesting approach. Now I want to get rid of some stuff that maybe is going to confuse you. Again, with some of these extra lines that we had to start us off. Once you erase some of these out, you get a sense of kind of where your overall drawing is going. And now we're going to move to something I've talked to you about before, which is to do your darker shaded areas. Those darker shaded areas should be done toward the end so that you don't have a problem with smearing. Now, in our case here, we're going to go ahead and make sure that this part of the hood is shaded in. And here's where it gets tricky, because I've got to make sure that I don't lose my detail on his eyebrows. Run my shadows up and through here. And we're going to go here around the part of the forehead. So it looks like it's coming up over the top, as you can see. Notice the shadow and the shading is really starting to make our guy look interesting. Okay, here's some of the shadows. Keep playing on this. Again, hitting all of the dark areas that I don't really want to have stand out, and actually help to make the overall figure come alive. Now, wherever the hand is up underneath, you can see by the shading here what we got going. Wherever the hand is up underneath, you want to try, or there's folds or something coming over the top, you want to run kind of a little bit of an extra shadow. And you can see by doing that, it actually gives the impression of the hand or limb or whatever it is going up inside. And the same thing can be said for up here in our head area. We're getting down to the end of our sketching here. And overall, it looks pretty good, but he still doesn't have eyeballs. So we're going to go ahead and create little wizened eyeballs. So he looks like he's very, 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 very old. Again, throw in a few extra lines. The more lines you throw in, the older he looks, and the more wizened he becomes. In our case here, we're just going to go ahead and throw a few strands of hair in here. Curve those down. And then we're going to go with our other pencil and go back in over here and just shape up a little bit on our staff so it looks pretty cool. And at this point we're just doing a little fun shading. We're just about finished. Now, we've got a really cool wizard, but you know, he looks kind of out there in space. And so what I'm going to go ahead and do here is create a little background to finish things off and give you the impression of mountains in the background. So he's traveled a long way to create the look and to wield his power. I don't know if he's looking for that magic ring or Frodo or whatever. Throw another couple of mountains back in here, get some nice mountain range. Throw some dramatic cloud cover here. And we're finished. There you go.